What's cooking today? Pizza. Homemade pizza from my oven. I make my own dough. I use my own sauce. I buy cheese. I mean, it's kind of hard to have a cow, where I live and keep her in my apartment and everything, So there's that. There are limitations. But come with me. I will show you how to make pizza at home. And yeah, enjoy. Thanks. So being a professional chef for years, I've accrued a coterie of useful things at home to make my pizza with that you probably may not have. Do you have a pizza stone, such as a pizza kit? Well, I do. What I have is the most important thing for my pizza. This is a 16 by 16 tile of unglazed terracotta. And I got this from Home Depot for less than $3 about 15 years ago. And this is the best pizza stone I've ever gotten. Why? It's big enough. I can make a 12-inch diameter pizza with no fuss. Most pizza stones are overpriced and they're kind of small if you ask me. And but this is the best thing for you. Unglazed, because the glaze can contain toxins, and when heated up, that can get on your pizza, and the pizza goes in your mouth, and you can get sick that way. So, I use this. I also have, this is a cutting board. This is the professional size cutting board that I use at the office, so to speak. And this is, again, a huge part of rolling out my pizza dough and getting it onto the pizza stone effortlessly. And also I have a rolling pin. This is the most basic rolling pin you can get. No moving parts. This is also what I use at the office. Okay, now if you don't have a pizza stone, there are ways around it. Sure, you could use a pan. Make a pan pizza. That's fine, Also, you can use your large sheet pan. Just, make the dough the appropriate size. That will fit on the sheet pan. There you go. The one caveat I want to put across, though, this is not cooking. This is baking. And baking is a bit stricter, and it's science-based, like you wouldn't believe. You can't deviate or elaborate with the dough. This is a non-starter if you think, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Don't. Keep to your recipe. Keep to your technique. Your elaboration will come in the sauce, in the toppings, and on the cheeses. But we do not mess around with the dough. This is, like I said, this is baking. And baking, you need to, heed the rules. Okay, here's a fancy French word for you. Mise en place means everything's ready in place. Things we'll need. AP flour, that's all-purpose flour. A little bit of white sugar. Some water. Some oil. I use roasted garlic oil for flavor. Some yeast. And to make the dough, sorry for the shake, I use my mixer. Yeah, this is my mixer. I've had this for years. It's great. And this is the mixing bowl, and this is called a dough hook. And the dough comes together really naturally and quickly with the dough hook. You can do this by hand too. Clean hands, just make a dough, and that's all well and good too. But I like using my machine, and I'll show you how to make the dough. The dough comes first, and it takes an hour for the dough to proof. For the yeast to eat the sugar and create little bubbles, and those little bubbles end up, in your crust, and it's a wonderful thing. Like I said, this is science. Science! Alrighty, go in with the dough. We're gonna make the dough, the pizza dough, and it's just a simple bread recipe, bread technique. This is all based in science, a ratio, 5 parts flour to 3 parts water. That can be 5 ounces of flour, 3 ounces of water, which we're gonna do. It could be 5 pounds, 3 pounds, 5 grams to 3 grams. Any combination of this ratio works. So we're gonna start by weighing out some water, 3 ounces. We're gonna heat this water up to 95 to 100 degrees. And we have to be very precise. Seriously precise. That'll do. That'll do fine. Okay, next we're going to weigh out 5 ounces of all-purpose flour, AP flour. Like I said, this has to be precise because this will all come together very nicely, getting the desired result, a very malleable ball of pizza dough. This is bread. Seriously, this is how you make bread. I got this technique from Michael Rollman, who's a cooking author. There we go. I'll even take a little out. Here we go. You think I'm being ill-retentive? No. You live and learn, Chief. Alrighty, and we're gonna throw in just a little bit, a decent pinch of kosher salt. Your bread will not have any flavor if you don't put any salt in it. This is true. Okay, then we're about to make the dough. So it goes water first, and then we add our dry ingredients into water. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of white sugar to the bowl. I heated this water up in the microwave. There we go. Why sugar? Because the yeast is going to eat the sugar, and then the yeast will quite literally poop out little bubbles of carbon dioxide. Yes, indeed. This is science. Alrighty, I'm also going to temp the water too. Make sure it's at the right temperature. It needs to be between 95 and 110 degrees. Awesome. Now, we're going to add the yeast and let it sit for about 5 minutes. You don't have to add the whole pack because we're only making an 8-ounce dough. That's 5 ounces of AP flour and 3 ounces of water. We're going to come back to this in a couple of minutes. I'm going to let this sit for about 5 minutes. It should smell like spilt old beer, and it should there should be visible bubbles. That means the yeast is eating the sugar inside the water and doing exactly what we need it to do. So we're going to take a break and come back. All right, it's been 10 minutes. Look at that water. It's frothy on top, huh? Well, that's the desired result. So before we add the flour, we're going to add a little bit of oil, shortening, literally. And yeah, I use roasted garlic oil, and because it tastes great. So I'm going to add about half of this flour to the mixer, drop the unit, lock the unit, and just let it run on number 1. Occasionally, we're going to stop the mixer and shut it off, unlock the unit, raise the unit, and we take a spatula, a nylon spatula, and just tamp down the edges. Make sure you get the bottom. You can swipe it off on the dough hook itself, and then lock the unit and turn it back on to 1. And we're just going to let this run a little bit, and we're going to also, little by little, add the rest of the flour. By all means, this should come together quite naturally on its own. And by the end, it will be one malleable ball of raw dough. It's coming together quite nicely. We're going to add the rest of the flour. We're going to stop. Unlock the machine. I got some flour on top of my dough hook, so I'm just going to help it out, scrape it off. Going to lift the machine. See that? We're going to scrape all the sides down. Scrape off the dough hook as well. And let this run just for a little bit. You don't want to work the dough as well. Lock the machine and turn it back on. If you overwork the dough, then it's going to be too chewy, and You know what too chewy means. It's like you'll be chewing for days. All right, the dough is coming together. I have a bowl. I'm gonna put a little bit of oil in this bowl. Yep, that's coming together quite nicely. Seriously, it could use just a drop or two of water. Literally, not much. That's how much water I add. Seriously. Oh, here it comes. And that is one nice dough. Because literally the flour is drinking up that water, hydrating, so to speak. Now, turn off the machine, unlock the unit, pull it up, and look at that dough. Wow. Here we go. That's fresh pizza dough. That's the basis of bread. Nice and malleable. See? A little tacky. And we're just going to roll the dough and cover the dough in the oil like that. I'm going to grab a clean towel and just cover the bowl with a towel. And come back in an hour. I'm going to put on an hour timer. And in 1 hour, the dough should expand in size. So let's look at the dough right now. And we'll compare it in an hour, okay? Alrighty, so the dough is resting and getting puffy. And I've cleaned up. And while we're waiting, I do this. So remember the pizza sauce, tomato sauce I made? Well, I freeze them into cubes. I'm gonna 1 3-ounce cube into a ramekin, a little bit of water, not more than an ounce or two, and I'm gonna thaw this in the microwave. When I put it on my pizza though, I don't want it hot, somewhere between room temperature and cold. Why? Because it's raw dough. It's kind of like raw pasta as well. It's the same thing almost without the egg, but you don't want to have a hot liquid on your raw pizza dough. It'll kind of par cook it in a way, and it will make it hard to manage when we need it to be manageable. So that's one hack, a pro tip there for you. Yeah, use cold sauce rather, right from the jar if you want to use jar sauce. No, not me. One thing I also do, it takes an hour for the dough to set up. You can cheat and not let the dough set up properly, but you're gonna get an inferior product. Yet I put on 2 timers. I put on a 40-minute timer and then a 20-minute timer. That's an hour, right? So at minute 40, I turn on the oven and I put in the pizza stone and I turn up the oven to about 400 to 425 degrees because it's gonna take about 20 minutes for the pizza stone to get hot. And because the dough goes right onto the pizza stone, this is baking. This is why it's baking and not cooking. We're baking bread. We just put stuff on it, but it's the bread that we're most worried about. So let's treat the bread with respect. And yeah, so that pizza stone needs to be hot. It needs to get it crispy the way we want it. You want a crispy, crunchy crust? Yes, I do too. And this is how we get it. Preheat your oven with the pizza stone in it, and that pizza stone's got to be hot. All right, it's been an hour. Let's take a peek at this dough. I also have the oven preheated. My goodness! Look, have you heard? He has risen. Alrighty. Well, sometimes people use white cornmeal for their pizza. I learned different. Actually, I don't like the flavor of the white cornmeal anymore, so I'm just going to use AP flour from now on. And I'm quite successful. It has the same result. Whoop. Sorry about that. Here we go. So we're just going to, flour both sides. Keep it in a circular disc. I'm not going to throw it in the air. I don't do that. That's for pizzerias. And this is just going to take a moment or two. Roll it. And flip it over. And repeat. I want a nice thin crust. Also, we pick it up a bit and we shake it. we want it to move. See, now it's moving. It's just gliding on top of that flour. That is the desired result that we want from this. See that? Alrighty. Shake it again. Notice it retreats a bit. That's the shortening. That's the fat, the lipid that's in our flour. It prevents it from, from spreading out all over the place. Alrighty, that's a good size for me. Alrighty. Here we go. Adjust the camera a bit. Now, sauce. I threw some minced garlic in here, a little bit of the roasted garlic oil. Alrighty. Pour it in the center. Work your way out from the center. This is about, say, 4 ounces of liquid altogether. You can put as much or as little as you want, but I tend to go for as little as I can. Also, now shake it. See it's moving across. There we go. That's what we want. The desired result. I'm making a pepperoni pizza, and I'll live and learn that I learned that I put the pepperoni on before the cheese. Why? Well, the gravity of the cheese keeps the pepperoni on when I'm sliding it onto the pizza stone. So I'm just gonna do this quickly so I don't bore you either. We've ronied our pizza. I like super roni, and I'm gonna shake it again. See how it's moving? That's exactly what we want. Now, cheese. As much or as little as you want. Remember, this is your pizza. Me, I like just a normal amount of cheese, somewhere between regular and extra. There we go. Okay, time to fire the pizza. My pizza stone is rocket hot. That's what we want. This is why I have an oversized cutting board. So I'm gonna give it a nice little, it's gonna glide right off of it and right onto the pizza stone. Boom! There we go. Close the door and do yourself a favor. Set a 6-minute timer. Seriously, don't open the door. Don't touch the pizza. You're gonna want to. I want to. Resist that urge. But for 6 minutes, don't open the door, don't touch it. Why? We want the bottom of the crust to become a crust. If we play with it too early, you're gonna mess it up. Give it the time it needs. Respect your pizza. We'll be back in a couple of minutes, okay? Yes, I set a 6-minute timer, and I'm respecting it. Why? Because I want a good pizza. All right, these are tongs. These are very important to have. I'm gonna open this up, pull it out just a little bit, and we're gonna rotate the pizza. Just a little bit, 180 degrees, literally. And see how it moves in one solid piece? Well, if you were to open up the oven and futz around with it before that, you'd pull the dough literally out of place. Now we're gonna have a circular pizza that looks like pizza, and it's gonna have a crispy bottom to it. I like a well-done pizza with a crispy crust, and I like a little caramelization on my cheese as well. So I'm gonna give this maybe about 3-4 more minutes, and then I'll check on it again. So overall, the pizza cooking time should take under 15 minutes. And we'll come back in about 4 more minutes, 5 minutes or so, and it's going to be almost done. Put on a 5-minute timer. Why? Because don't open the door. You'll be tempted to open the door, but you should not open the door. You've already turned the pizza once. This is a pizza peel. It's very advantageous when it comes to slicing and serving. Uh-oh, here it's time. Whoops, here we go. Alrighty. And, oh, what a beautiful pizza. Oh, making happy people with this pizza, huh? Turn off your oven. And look at that pizza. This is the finished result. This is the desired result. We've cooked our pizza. Isn't that wonderful? We did this all ourselves at home. Take your pizza slicer and cut your pizza. Now, one time I went to a pizza baker and I said, I'll take a large pizza to go. And he said, would you like that cut into 8 slices or 6? And I said 6 because I'm not that hungry. Ha 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 ha, that's a joke. But look at this pizza. Look at that crust. Look at that, that's a pizza. And we did this at home ourselves. And that is how we make pizza at home. Hot, delicious pizza. Look at this. Look at that crust. Yeah, just look at those little tiny bubbles. Look at that. We made this at home ourselves. We did this together. Awesome. Well, thank you for joining me on this culinary adventure on how to make pizza at home, from dough to sauce to cheese to baking. And I hope you try to make your pizza at home. And if you do, share your videos or share your pictures, share your story with me. Please, I want to know how your pizza came out. Mine's delicious, and I wish I could offer you a slice. But from here, I can only offer you a technique. God bless, take care, namaste. Cheers!